If I ask you to write an equation with the following zeros, and I give you these zeros, you know, as long as you know the multiplicities, and we're going to assume the multiplicities are all 1, that x plus 3 must be a part of my equation so that when I plug in -3, I get 0. This must be true for x minus 5. It must be part of my equation. When I plug in 5, I'm going to get 0. Must be true for x minus 7. That must be true as well. This is what we call factored form. This is not standard form. If we are given this equation first, we are easily able to get those answers, correct? If we are given this equation first and we have those answers and we look at the end behavior of this x cubed, why is it x cubed? I got 1, 2, 3 x's being multiplied with the positive leading coefficient. We know what things are going to look like. It'll look like this in the end, and it'll cross through these 3 zeros. Great. That is all the information that we've learned. This is all the stuff that we've been working on this unit. Okay? Now, we also worked on factoring to get a factored form. Here's another way we can get the factored form. Okay, but that's not what I asked you for. I'm asking you for standard form. This is what's going to be asked for you on your quiz. To find standard form, you need to multiply all this out. How do you multiply this out? 2 at a time. Take 2 of your favorite ones, multiply them together. Once you get that, multiply the third one by that at which you already multiplied. Okay? Who likes the box? You want me to do the box? Who wants me to do this normally? Normally? All right, Miss Mattingly. Thanks for being attentive. I'm going to give you guys your quiz after like 2 practice problems if I don't see you guys actually trying and paying attention. No, I see too many. That's great. I see half of you sleeping. I see a quarter of you raising your hand, and then I see a quarter of you just zoned out of your minds. So are you going to get ready for the quiz or not? Because I could just give you the quiz. It's up to you. X times x, x squared. X times -5, -5x. 3 times x, 3x. 3 times -5, -15. I will combine my like terms, -5x and 3x, to be -2x. I am smart enough to do this without any of this work. I'm smart enough, and you guys, I say that because you guys are smart enough to go straight from here to here. How? The same way you go from here back here, right? How, Miss Mattingly?
You look for wait, is it -15?
It is -15.
That will add to the final number and then multiply to the middle number?
Other way around.
Other way around.
These, -5 times 3, -15. That's where the -15 came from. -5 times 3, -15.
Wouldn't it be wait, is it negative or positive?
Negative. I made a mistake. -5 plus 3, -2x. If you know how to factor, boy, don't waste any time distributing when it's like, I know what to do. I know if that's the factored form, all I need to do is take this x multiplied by the x. I'm going to have -5 x's and 3 x's. That's -2 x's. And I'm going to have 3 times -5. That's -15. It's not that hard, right? Do I have to show all the work to get there? If you know how to factor, you should know how to do this. It's just quick and easy. If you're not comfortable with that, please don't do it until you get comfortable with that. Go ahead and just use the box or distribute everything. Okay, now that I have that, we are not done. Too many of you on your quiz, stop there. But you need to multiply by x minus 7. Now, you can either do this using your arrows and distributing everything, or you can use the box. It's up to you. What's negative 15 and negative 7? Y equals x cubed minus 9x squared.
Wait, isn't this if you have plus, minus 15
X, yeah, I forgot about that. Maybe the box is the method to do. That's it. This is standard form. This is what's asked of you in your quiz. Yep. We're doing the easy ones first. You're going the other way. We're going to do that next. I'm already giving you the zeros. Since I'm already giving you the zeros, you don't have to divide to find zeros. Typically, we'll divide to find zeros, and that's what we're going to work on next. But for right now, here are the zeros. Here's my equation in factored form. Here's my equation in standard form. Got it? Here's another one. We're going to assume all these multiplicities are 1. Do I need my calculator? Nah. You can use it. Please use it so that you can see this is not that difficult. Why? It's not that difficult if you do the following. These two first. Don't multiply the x minus 4 by the x minus root 5 first. That's going to make it more complicated than it needs to be. Multiply the x minus root 5 and the x plus root 5.
Multiply?
Yeah. Everybody pause. You're going to figure this out shortly. X squared minus 36. Can you factor this?
Yeah.
What is it?
It would be,
X plus 6, x minus 6. Fantastic. So you see, you got a value times another value. That's right there. You got the x and the x. That's there. Signs are flipped. Okay, so this is that. What's this multiplied? X squared. Yeah? But it'd be minus the square root of 25. And what's the square root of 25, Miss Crabtree? Yeah. Root 5 times root 5 is just 5. Root 5 times root 5 is root 5 squared. That's just 5. You could do the work. It'd be x squared plus root 5x plus negative root 5x plus.
would the x go into the square root?
No. This is x squared minus 5.
Wait, why didn't you do negative 25?
It's root 25. Root 25 is 5. Type into your calculator root 5 times negative root 5 if you're not sure, if you're not comfortable with this. Root, you guys know where the root is? It's over the x squared. Root is over the x squared. You got to go second and then x squared. Root 5 times negative root 5 is root 5 squared times the negative 1. It's root 25. However you do it, it's negative 5. You got that? Okay. You're not done yet. That's x squared minus 5. You still have that x minus 4. Go. What's a negative times a positive? A negative. Okay? I got an x cubed. I got negative 4x squared. I got negative 5x's. I got positive 20. Yep, that's the standard form of your polynomial with those roots. Would we like to do another one, just like that? Yes? No? Yes. Here we go. Here are the roots. X equals negative 2, root 3, negative root 3. But negative 2's got a multiplicity of 2. Join us, Mr. Clark. Smaggly, I don't want to hear complaints about not knowing what we're doing, and then when we're actually practicing and learning what we're doing, you're doodling. That's great. I just don't want to hear complaints if this is what you're doing. Four x times x squared. X squared times x squared is just x to the fourth. x times x times x times x. Yep. How did you get 13? You multiplied this one and that one, or did you multiply these two? Okay, if you multiply those two together, you get x squared plus root 3x minus root 3x minus 3. Root 3 times root 3 is just 3. The root 3x's cancel. That's how I get x squared minus 3. Did you get that? Here I get x squared plus 2x plus 2x plus 4. That's how I get that. Okay. It's not anything.
How'd you get the negative 3? Because when I put it in my calculator, it like wouldn't work.
It wouldn't work. So it's very important to understand why is the square root of a number times the square root of the same number, just the number inside. We'll talk more about this next class, next unit. Root 3 times root 3.
Oh, is this a negative on the root?
Oh yeah, you can't take a root of a negative. That's an imaginary number. Two ways to do this. You could say this is root 3 being squared. A square root and a square. What happens if you square a square root? They're going to go away. The square and the square root actually cancel each other out and get you 3. You'd also think of this as 3 to the 1/2 times 3 to the 1/2, and we'll talk about how the square root is the same as a fractional power next unit. 1/2, if I had like x squared times x cubed, what do I do with these two numbers? X squared times x cubed, what does that simplify to be? What's x squared times x cubed? X to the 5th, not 6th. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You add the numbers together. What's 1/2 times 1/2? Or 1/2 plus 1/2 is 1. 3 to the 1st. Okay, so the square root of a number times itself ends up just being the number inside the square root. I feel like we should have done square roots before we did these. We've done a lot of things in different orders. I had my chance. Okay, are we good with this now? All right. Moving to the second type of problem that you'll see on your quiz today, which is what most of the lesson was about. In the previous class, on day 2, I would give you this and say, write the factored form to find the zeros. Right? What would you do? You got 4 items. What would you do? No. What you did last class is you tried to factor. Okay? Let's try to factor here. Okay, I can get, I guess, an x squared out of this. I can get 4 out of this. That's nice. Just an x here. A 1 here. Is that correct? Is x plus 1 times x squared minus x squared plus 4 going to give me 3x cubed, 13x squared, 8x, and negative 12? Let's see. X. Okay, nope. 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 So, the difference between last class and this class is last class we could factor for our quiz. For this quiz, based on the lesson last class, we can't factor. So what we do is we graph. If I graph this equation. And yes, we will be doing synthetic division. Three x cubed plus 13 x squared plus 8x minus 12. Zoom standard if you're not in Zoom standard. Why do I have a red line and you guys don't have a red line? Because I put y equals 0 in as well. Always have y equals 0 in. It's nice to just have. Okay, I even tell my calculus students this. Have a y equals 0. Okay? All right. So I can't factor, Miss Mattingly, but I can graph. How does this help me?
It helps us because we're finding some more zeros.
Okay? Do I see any nice, easy zeros that I can use?
-2.
Looks like -2. How do I know for certain it's at -2?
You go on your calculator.
Please stop doodling and pay attention here. You have y equals 0 graphed. You have the equation graphed. If you second calc the intersect, you will be able to find an exact value.
Wait, what did you just do?
Second calc intersect with y equals 0 and the graph graphed. This is how you're going to be able to solve any equation, right, guys? We talked about this with absolute values. Y equals the left side, y equals the right side. We're finding zeros when y equals 0. So there's one, -2. Find another one. -3. Okay? Those are easy ones. The other one ends up not being a whole number. Kind of know what it is. But it's not a whole number. All I do know, and I'm asked to do this the following way, is that x plus 2 and x plus 3 times something will give me that.
Wasn't there 3 points though?
Yeah. Because it's not a whole number. It's at 0.66666666666. Okay? So, here's what we're going to do. We're going to say, let's find what x plus 2 can be multiplied by to get that. 3x cubed plus 13x squared plus 8x minus 12. This is when we can divide. I can divide this factor out. Everybody pay attention. This is what's like the difficult part of that last lesson. Okay? X plus 2 is a factor. Well, divide it out to see what I have left. And let's go ahead and do this. If I found the correct factor, what should be my remainder? It better be 0 or else I did something wrong. Please go ahead and do the division.
Does it matter what x you pick?
So you picked...
What 0 you pick? Or like x plus
No, does not matter which one we pick first. Of course it works. I know it works. I graphed it. I know this is a factor. Okay? Remember, number x squared. This is from last unit, right? Okay, good. So I know x plus 2 times that gives me 3x cubed plus 13x squared plus 8x minus 12. What else do I know, though? I know that this has to have a factor of -3. From my graph. Was it +3? It was +3. X plus 3. The solution was -3.
So would you just do the same thing?
I would do the same thing, but with whatever's left over. Watch this. You could actually go right here and plop down a -3 and do another round of synthetic division. You may turn that off, and then we won't have to worry about it. Ready? I'd say these are the tough ones. We didn't even have this in our lesson. This is x plus 2. This is x plus 3. This is 3x minus 2. There's my fully factored form. That's the factored form. Find the 0. Yes, the question is find the zeros using your calculator and synthetic division. I got -2, I got -3, and then I got when 3x minus 2 equals 0. I add 2 divided by 3, 2/3. That's what 0.66666666666 is, 2/3. That's how we can get that answer, though.
Yeah, we could have just turned the
So, here's what you're going to be asked to do so that you know you're capable of doing this without a calculator. You're going to be asked to write this down, this factored form. If you wrote x minus 2/3, that is not correct. 3x minus 2 is correct. Got that? Okay. Are you sure? Okay. Well, this is why it's like, oh, why do we do this when we just saw the answers right away? Because this would be the correct factored form, x minus 2/3 would not be the correct factored form. Okay? All right, so another one. You will not be able to find the answers to this with a calculator. It will not be easy fractions. You'll be able to find one, but then the other two we'll have to figure out ourselves. Okay, let's go. Step 1, what do we do? Graph it. Okay, let's go, everybody. Step 1, graph. What also should you have in y equals? Y equals 0, please. Step 2, find a solution. It's not going to come out. Great. Did the same thing. Is this at a whole number? I don't even think this is at a whole number. That's 2? It doesn't look like it. Did I plug it in wrong? I think this is just a bad equation that I'm giving you. Really?
Yeah.
X cubed minus 2x squared minus 5x plus 10. Second calc intersect. Did anybody else get 2? What did I type in wrong then? You got the same thing I got. It's not a glitch. It's not a glitch. Did anybody else get 2.236?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, great.
Is this Wolfram also? Yeah.
Minus 2x squared minus 5x plus 10. X cubed minus 2x squared minus 5x plus 10. That's what you had up on the board, right? How come I don't get 2 on the dot with my calculator? Oh, I know. I know. You know why? You guys are all right. Everybody's right. There's 2. Look. Okay, this is important. Why did some of you get 2 and some of you get the other value? There are 2 zeros like right next to each other. Two is one of them. The other one's that decimal that we found.
So that's the one that we have that's for sure.
This is the one I know. That's an easy one to work with. Yeah, it barely goes under, but it does. Trace, see? Comes down. I mean, I can zoom in right there, and you can see it a little bit more clearly. There's a 0, there's another 0. This happens. Okay? So, first thing, you look at the graph, it looked like there was only 2, right? It means like, oh, one of them must have had a multiplicity of 2, the other one had to have 1, because we have to have 3 answers, okay? It's called the fundamental theorem of algebra. If it's an x cubed, there's got to be 3 solutions. Now, we zoomed in, we found 1 was exactly at 2. Okay, so that means I know x minus 2 or plus 2 is the solution. All right, please divide x minus 2 out. And let's write 1 factored form. Now we go back to, and we're going to do this frequently, solving quadratics.
Ew.
This 2 we know. How do you solve x squared minus 5 equals 0? What do you think, Mr. Irwin? Okay, how can you factor that? Because you can. No, that'd be x squared minus 25. X squared minus 25 would be x plus 5, x minus 5. X squared minus 5 will not be x plus 5, x minus 5.
It would be x plus square root of 5 minus x square root of negative 5.
Yes, x minus root 5. So you can't have the square root of a negative value because that'd be imaginary. That's one way to find out that your answers are root 5 and negative root 5. That other value close to 2, it's root 5. What's another way to solve this equation? So Harvey, you remember how to solve x squared equations? Say x squared equals 5. Do you remember how to solve that?
How do you know to put the 5 into a square root?
Because what times itself gives us 5? Root 5 times root 5 is 5.
Okay.
Remember, Miss Harvey, how to solve this equation? X squared equals 5.
Is it like the x plus itself equals 5?
No. Mr. Schumacher, you remember x squared equals 5. How to solve that? How? Right here. How do you solve this? Mr. Stripa, how do you solve this? Nope. How do you get x by itself? How do you get rid of that square? Square root it. We could solve by factoring, or we could solve by moving the 5 over and square rooting both sides, giving us x equals root 5. Nope, it's not that. Thank you, Ms. Viamore. Plus or minus is necessary whenever we're square rooting an unknown square. That is another way to get the plus or minus root 5 as our zeros.
How do we get our, like, I don't understand how you explain how we get our original part of the equation in parentheses.
This?
The other one.
This?
Mm-hmm.
We found that solution right there using second calculators.
Even if it's not like exact, we can still use it?
No, because we just talked about how there was 2.
But
And this one is
we
exact.
don't use the other one.
We're not using the other one. No.
Never?
No. Guess what the other one is? Square root 5.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Okay, so watch. Root, trace. Let's go to root 5. Root 5. There it is. That's the other one we found. Just you guys didn't know that was root 5. Okay, another one. Questions? Okay, let's do this one. Step 1, graph. Step 2, find a nice, easy answer. And it looks like it wants to be a 0, but I know it's not 0. If I plug in 0, that decimal there, that decimal there. Three. Okay, pull out 3.
Is this positive we do x minus 3?
Yep. What do I do now?
Would we take from that equation?
I already looked at the other 2 zeros. They weren't whole numbers. In the first example, which you'll do on your quiz, your first example, you saw 2 solutions, which were whole numbers, pulled out the first one, then divided what's left over by the second one. Boom, you got x plus 2, you got x plus 3, you got 3x minus 2. That's easy. Second one, we ended up with an x squared minus 5. I got the plus or minus root 5s from that. I'm not done here. What do I do here?
Would you multiply the box?
The box, Miss Crabtree. And Miss Bird said multiply A by C. You are correct. Find two numbers that multiply to get A times C and add to get B. Once we find those two numbers, split this up into two different things, put it in a box. What's in the box? Figure it out. Go. Six and six. Nope. Is there anything that goes?
18 and 2.
18 and 2. So simple. 12x squared. It's no longer 20x. It's 18x. 2x. 3. Go ahead. Finish it off. Do you remember this? An x squared where a is not 1. Two numbers that multiply to get a times c and add to get b are 18 and 2. Let's go. Finish the box. Don't tell me you don't remember this. We've done this like in 3 different units now, including this unit, this lesson, like 2 lessons ago. I got a 1. I got a 4. Nope. 3x. 3x. I got a 2x. I got a 3. It would be 6x. Nice. Mr. Clark. See, 6x, 2x, 12x squared. 6x, 3, 18x. 2x and 1. 2x, 3 and 1. 3. I get x minus 3. 2x plus 3. 6x plus 1. That, my friends, will now lead me to my answers. What are my answers? I already have 1. X equals 3.
Oh my gosh, negative is also the negative 3.
Nope. Positive 3.
Equal to 3. And
When this and this equals 0, if I have a factor, we set that equal to 0. Negative 3 halves, negative 1/6.
the next one would be negative 0.
Negative 3 halves, negative 1/6. Okay, we're going to take the quiz. That's what Ms. Crabtree wants. What you're going to see on your quiz today. 2 of those where I ask you to write them in standard form. You write out your factors, you multiply them all together. 2 of them, like this. 1 of which you'll be able to find the zeros easily. Divide both of them out. The other one where you'll end up with an x squared minus something. You'll have 2 answers of plus or minus root something. Okay? See how well you do.